Dear students, dear guests, welcome to the opening lecture of our joint seminar, Global Challenges to Development. This course is a partnership between the Global Awareness Education at the University of Tübingen in Germany, the State University of Maringa in Brazil, and the Nelson Mandela University in South Africa. In this course, we will alternate theoretical debates with students' projects related to sustainability, education, creative industries, geopolitical instabilities, poverty and hunger alleviation, and health. We will have guests from different countries and contexts who will contribute with lectures to these topics. In both universities, the course is offered to students of different disciplines. In Tübingen as part of the Global Awareness Education in the Transdisciplinary Course Program, and at the State University of Maringa as a free extension course. The course organizers are Professor Mauricio Reinhardt and Professor Sara Pichet from the State University of Maringa, Professor Rony Nakwadi from Nelson Mandela University, and me, Cláudia Pérez da Silva, University of Tübingen. And today we will hear a lecture on globalization and development, changing scenario with Professor Badar Alam Iqbal from Tshwane University of Technology in South Africa, and I will introduce you now, Professor. I'm very happy that you are here. Professor Iqbal has been associated with many global universities and research institutes over the years. He has been an Emeritus Professor in Ghana, in Dhaka, Adjunct Professor at Monarch Business School in Switzerland, Visiting Professor at the London School of Economics, Claflin University in the US, Kentucky State University, also in the US, Beijing Institute of Technology. He was an EU Fellow at Warsaw University, Poland, and also at the University of Maringa. So we are very happy to know that. And in the International Islamic University in Malaysia. So in 3 occasions, he was awarded DAAD Fellowship. Here he went to Berlin, Kiel, and Heidelberg, already in Germany. So he's very at home here in this group. So we are very happy to have you here. And Professor Iqbal, now the floor is yours. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Professor Croatia da Silva. At the very outset, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Ronnie, who has recommended my name for this opportunity of interacting with the pupil, especially for these students. And I'm also thankful to other organizers who are responsible for structuring the course. And this course is really very relevant and timely now, because globalization and development, they have become part and parcel of global world. And there is no exception to this particular notion. Now I start my business. That is my topic. My topic is globalization, development, changing scenario. When you start the word globalization, then it reminds me that when this particular concept is not new one, but it is as old as the trade history, which I will let you know later when how this trade history is there in case of trade. But the globalization itself is considered as a controversial, because some are favoring it, some are not favoring it. Still, and now we are living 21st century, still they are descendant on globalization. But I would like to say that nothing is perfect on the landscape of the earth. There is always pro and cons both. Some are advocated it, some are not advocated. There are some anti. Same thing is happening to the globalization. Those who are favoring the globalization or those who favored the globalization, they say it is beneficial, it is inevitable, and it is reversible. It cannot be reversed back. Those who are not like this concept, they say that there is a fear, there is a hostility, there is a lack of sovereignty of the country, and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, globalization is the need of the hour. Globalization is required. Now the question is, what do you mean by globalization? There are some different opinions about the definition of globalization. Some say that it is the economic integration, that the nations are integrated with the global economy. Some say that it is the process of transforming their traditional economies into modern economies. Some say that globalization brings speedy development in global world. And so there is a divergence of opinion, and there's no any specific definition. But according to the choice, the people have defined globalization in different ways. But the fact remains that globalization is the need of the day. Nobody can escape from this notion. Every country is gone for globalization. And there is a tremendous examples. I will cite these examples here. You can take example China. China is, if you go to 20 or 30 years back, I still remember I read some article in Hong Kong in some Far East Economic Review. It is published from Hong Kong. There was an article that Beijing was considered as the dirtiest city of the world at that time. And now today it is the cleanest city of the world. How this transformation took place? China organized Olympics. China has become the second largest economy and replaced Japan. For decades and decades, Japan was the second largest economy. But now China has replaced the Japan. So this is how this transformation has come. This comes from globalization. There's no other. Similarly, you can say disintegration of USSR, now Russia, or East European countries. They are all going for globalization. They are integrating their respective economies to the global world. And now the world is become, and that's why some say that today we are having a boundaryless world in terms of goods, in terms of flow of goods and services and flow of capitals and so on and so forth. So this you can take example India, from where I belong. India is the process of transformation its traditional economy into modern economy. And India has become a force to reckon with. All these things, how these things are become possible? This is because of the globalization. And therefore, the question is that which one is lesser evil? Evils are there. Everything has evils. Which one is lesser evil? That is the globalization. There is no choice. There is no option. And that's why I still believe that the globalization is not a matter of choice, it is a matter of compulsion. And when you say that it is a matter of compulsion, then you have to think that how the globalization could speed up, to promote, to facilitate the concept of development. When now the question is how the globalization is taking place, there are four basic issues or segments, components, which makes globalization more beneficial, responsible, and innovative. One is trade. Trade is one of the biggest issues now, one of the most important segments of the globalization. And today in 21st century, it is said that trade is engine of growth. Trade facilitates development and development promotes trade, vice versa. Now, in terms of trade, when you can say that, as I said earlier, that globalization is become more dominant in 19th, 20th century, but it is not a new concept. If you go to the history of the Second World War, you will find when the Second World War was over, then 22 countries come together and create a concept of globalization, Bretton Woods, which has created the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. What is this? This is where the different countries came together and formulate and agree that we must have an international institution to rebuild the world economy, which was raised by the Second World War. And IMF, International Monetary Fund, was assigned to promote trade, exchange, and other currency problems, while the World Bank was assigned to promote development through private investment. And thereafter, you can take example, GATT, General Agreement of Tariffs and Trade. And at that time, it was GATT was considered as a rich man's club. And all along, UNCTAD was considered as a poor man's club. Poor countries were associated with the UNCTAD, while the rich countries were associated with the General Agreement of Tariffs and Trade. What is this? This is a cooperation. This is a promotion. Come together and solve the problem of trade and foreign exchange, currency, and so on and so forth. Because at that time, the countries, and you still remember that when the Second World War was there was a gold standard. And thereafter, the gold standard was broken out because there is a disequilibrium between supply and demand of the gold. And naturally, what happened? That country, the world, transformed itself from gold standard to paper standard. That is the basically. So, GATT, then UNCTAD, then the most important, most significant thing which is related to the world trade is WTO, World Trade Organization. Because GATT is transformed into WTO in 1995. And today, what is the basic purpose of the WTO for which it was created? The basic objective of the WTO was to promote multilateral trading system, to regulate and to promote world trade. Trade is an engine of growth. You can take examples that all East Asian countries, because you see earlier, the growth pole was considered to the West. Now the growth pole has transformed into East now. Why this transformation? This transformation is because of the globalization. Now WTO is there. Now the new concept has come, new regionalism. New regionalism, you can take example. Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. Then come CPTPP, Comprehensive Progress Trans-Pacific Partnership. And now recently, East Asian countries, they have created this app. So new concept of regionalism has come. Now here is one thing which I would like to point out here. It is worthy of measuring here, is that these earlier, when on the one hand you say multilateral trading system. On the other hand, you are dividing the countries into blocks, which is contrary to the concept of WTO. It is badly affected the multilateral trading system, and more free trade agreements are coming up. Earlier, you try to minimize bilateralism and promoting multilateralism. Now, multilateralism is backyard, and now bilateralism is also coming up. So this is basically against the contradictions are there. So that's why trade is the offshoot of globalization for flow of goods and services among nations. There is a minimum possible tariffs. Policy of protection should not be there. So that is basically one of the most important aspects of globalization. Now, the second is capital flows. Capital is the basic need for every business, profession, activity, whatever you call. Capital flows, and especially the developing countries, they are lacking much. Their development process is badly affected because of the non-availability of capital to them. They are not, because their saving rate is very low. They cannot finance their development needs by their savings, so naturally they rely upon capital flows. Now here I would like to say is that there are three options for financing development. One is the old concept, foreign aid, which now has become ODA now. Nobody calls it foreign aid, but it is called official development assistance. And then development economists say the aid is a mercy. Aid is not a right. It is a mercy. You are on the mercy of the donor. If donor is happy with you, he's extending the foreign aid for your development. He's not happy with you, he will not, because you cannot compare. And that's why he said that it is a mercy. So you cannot rely upon foreign aid or ODA for your development of finance development. Second is commercial borrowings. And you see, commercial borrowing is a very dangerous issue. You can see that East Asia crisis, you still remember. Commercial borrowings is a liability. And you have to bear it out. And if you are not properly managing the commercial borrowings within the country or the outside the country, you will come under the debt trap. If they are not perfect balancing between the maturity and the and you see India is also, I can cite example of India. In 1991, India started the economic liberalization. Earlier it was a closed door economy, now it is an open economy. Here I will also say is a new concept there. When you say globalization, it means it's a free market economy, where the decisions are being taken by the demand and supply, not by the government and other. But there are two countries in this world on the landscape of the earth. One is China and other is India. They are not the free market economy. But new concept they have originated is friendly economy, friendly market economy. And friendly market economy means that government has the right to interfere. Market forces, demand and supply, they will not be. Government, anytime government can interfere and make the correct balance. And recent example is in these days, Indian rupee has gone worst, touched upon 81 rupees. Now the RBI is purchasing dollar, is facilitating dollars so that to give the strength to the rupee. So these are all issues though, basically. So that's why, and the third important aspect, which is the more relevant to this, my lecture, is FDI, foreign direct investment or direct foreign investment. Both terminologies are used. Some use it as FDI, some use DFI. FDI is also a controversial. It is the most acceptable law vehicle to promote development through FDI. One of the biggest advantage, because neither ODA is dependable nor commercial borrowings you can rely upon. Now the only option is left out, that is FDI. Now what is the biggest advantage of the FDI? The biggest advantage of the FDI is that there is a funds, there is a flow of resources, flow of FDI, along with management. Or in other words, you can say equity participation. So FDI is now accepted now. Every country now, small or big countries, everyone is trying to attracting as much as foreign direct investment as it could to facilitate their process of development, to finance their development. So it is not a matter of choice, it is a matter of compulsion. You have to attract more FDI and you to create more environment, friendly environment to the multinationals, transnational corporation, TNCs or MNCs. Because when these companies are come, they will come with resources and with management, also with marketing techniques. And this is the three important advantages which are associated with the FDI. You will get the best technology. You can get resources. Gestation period is there. Marketing techniques are there. Multinationals have innovative marketing techniques which the nation firm cannot. So this FDI is the second capital flows, the most important segment of the capital. Other forms are also there. And there is a difference here. Everybody, especially the student, must know that there is a difference between FDI and FFI. And the basic difference is that FFI is only interested in return on their investment, RIO. But FDI, it is return plus management, control over the company, control over the affairs of the business. And you can see, I had read somewhere long back that the largest subsidiaries are in China. And now on the one hand, China is still considered itself as a socialistic country, but he is practicing all important things of free market. All things. But he still says that, and that's why they have coined the word friendly market economy, not free market economy. To create friendly environment to the companies, invite the companies. And you can take example of China. China today has become so important economic force, reckon with. It started its liberalization process as back as 1978. When for the first time, he opened the coastal areas. And once the coastal areas experiment was become successful, then he allowed the foreign investment in hinterland. And this is the biggest difference between China's liberalization and India's liberalization. China's liberalization was voluntary liberalization. India was forced liberalization. When India, 1991, when India at the verge of collapse, then IMF, he approached the IMF, IMF agreed to bail out the Indian economy, and he said that you have to bring such changes in your economy. Then we will bail out. And India's liberalization, forced liberalization. And this is the biggest, and that's why China is outplaced other countries of the world. I still remember that few decades ago, it was said that US is financing China. Now today, China is financing the United States. More than 40% of the securities are managed by China. And today it is believed, and it is sure, that no global order, trade or other type of order cannot be possible without taking the voice of these two countries, emerging countries, China and India. Now, every global policies they are being. You have to take it. So this is all basically is transformation has taken place now. And that is for capital, FDI. Then the third one is information, or in other words, you can knowledge. Knowledge-based economy. Knowledgeable world. Today, say there is an explosion of knowledge across the world. Knowledge changing very fast. It is very, very difficult to cope with the change, with the cope with the knowledge. Knowledge changes. Today, what is relevant, tomorrow it becomes irrelevant. So it is very, very difficult how to cope with the knowledge, how to create knowledge, how to facilitate knowledge, how to disseminate the knowledge. So knowledge transformation, flow of knowledge, vertical, horizontal, right to left, left to right. Knowledge counts very much. And you have to make yourself updated. And that is that how to cope with the knowledge. Knowledge is like a sea, where you cannot say that what is the breadth or what is the length and what is the depth. No, nobody can say. Knowledge is changing very fast. And those who are coping with the knowledge, they are successful in life. And I still remember that there was a theory, survival of fittest. Today, that theory is still hold 100% true now. Those who are fit, they will survive in this world. Those who are not fit, they cannot survive. And how can you cope? You make yourself fit with knowledge. Because in this world, degree is not sellable. What is sellable is knowledge. And your price of a student, the price of a consumer, or price of a in the market is basically fixed on the basis of knowledge. How much knowledge you acquire. Sometime in my class, I always say that there are two students. One has got lakhs of rupees or the dollars package. Other has got 1,000 package. Why? Same teacher, same environment, same book, same thing. Why? Why this difference is there? This is because of the level of knowledge which you acquire. If you have more knowledge, you're more sellable. you have a better price. That is basically one of the most important things. So knowledge, and it is everybody, if you want to make yourself successful in your life, then you have to go with the knowledge. And knowledge changes very fast. Today, what is relevant, tomorrow it will be redundant. New things are coming up. And the fourth point is technology. Why there is a more use of technology, especially in developing countries? Technology replacing man, there is already unemployment, and you are replacing technology. You are replacing man by technology, further employment, technological employment, as the type of employment will come. But there is no choice. Why there is no choice? Why it has become a matter of compulsion? It has become a matter of compulsion because we are living in 21st century where two things are very important, which is bearing out by every individual. One is quality, other is cost. These are the two buzzwords. Everyone is conscious of quality and everybody is conscious of cost. And you still say that quality is a buzzword. Everybody believes in quality, and quality not confined to any area, everywhere. Quality of education, quality of decision making, quality of product, quality of service. Quality counts everywhere. And how you can create the quality? Because the most important requirement is that quality with reasonable cost. This is the basic prime objective. How to maintain quality with a reasonable cost? Why you are replacing man and by machine? Because man is not a machine. Man is subject to mental and physical fatigue. He cannot work altogether 24 hours. He cannot work. But a machine can work 24 hours without rest. So in 1 hour, if the human being is producing 10 units, machine is producing 1,000 units. So what would be the cost? That's why, because you cannot compete. Because today you can compete. Because competition, do and die. And this competition only you can face through quality and cost. But well, China is everywhere. Chinese goods are everywhere in the world. Because cost is there. Cheap. They are cheaper as compared to the other. So similarly, quality counts. I still remember that how the quality counts. In 1983, I was in Tokyo on a visiting fellowship of Institute of Developing Technology, you might know. Japan is one of the most important institutes, is Institute of Developing Economies, IDE. I was there 10 months fellowship to study Indo-Japan trade relations. When I was coming back after spending my 10 months, I went to my professor and I asked him that from where I should make purchases for my family. He gave a smile. And you say, now you have to answer my question, then I will advise you. Then I say, well, there is nothing to give answer and question and answer. But no, it is very important. And yes, are you believe in quality or are you believe in price tag? Very relevant questions. He put, naturally I say, I believe in quality. And he say, you buy from Tokyo. If the same product you buy from Hong Kong, other Bangkok and other, quality is not there. Price tag will be there. The best product you will get, qualitative product you will get in Tokyo. How conscious the people are. Quality. You can forget the price tag, but you cannot forget the quality of the product. You still remember that how good is the quality. Why Japanese Sony is always there? Spontaneously you choose for Sony. Why? Because of the quality. So now the technology meets both ends. Maintain quality and reduce the cost. So that technology is there. Now when you talk about technology, there is a model, 4A model. Availability, access, absorption, and adoption. When you talk about technology, then you have to take into consideration these 4A. Technology available, availability of technology. Globalization makes this possible. Availability of technology. You can get a good technology. And these MNCs and TNCs are coming, they are having with best technologies. You can take example in India, Maruti. Maruti has come with the best technology. Suzuki has come with the best technology, and Maruti is very dominant auto in India and other countries of the world. If it is available, then the second most important aspect is from technology point of view, access to it. Sometimes technology available, but you don't have access to it. So there is no use of availability. When the technology is available, you must have access. Suppose your technology availability is there, access is there. Then can you absorb? Because technology absorption does require so many infrastructure, both hard and soft infrastructure. Are you in a position to make absorption of this technology? Okay, absorption is there, then adoption. Can you adopt it? Because it creates waves. Can you adopt it? Can you afford it? So these 4 ADL model is there. And you have to take into account of these 4 models. This particular model does A. I always put question to my students. Why insurance sector has become more dominant in the global world? And what the people are becoming more and more conscious of insurance. Earlier in my school days, I was only remembered of the life insurance only. And even the life insurance, very few people make use of this life insurance. Today now, everything is being insured. small, big, everything. Why you are going for insurance? What is the reason behind it? Reason is because when you are making more use of technology, there is more risk, high risk. And that's why you have to insure yourself. So more is the risk, more will be the insurance. And that's why global insurance sector has tremendous increase and become dominant. This is because of the technology. So these are all important things which are making people realize, countries, nation realize to go for globalization, despite the fact that globalization has cons also. But pros are much higher than cons. As I told you, lesser evil. There's no choice. This is a compulsion. You have to go. So now to come to the other side of it. Development economists say that globalization creates fears in the mind of the pupil. It is more hostile. It is creating bigger gap in terms of income inequalities. Sovereignty of the country is lost. So they are saying that. So, and that's why it is very, very difficult for the governments of the across the world how to keep balance between pros and cons. That is very difficult and changing task, challenging task. And scenario has been changed. Globalization scenario is being changed. And especially after COVID-19, scenario is changing. Now the people talk about localization now, instead of globalization. Again, coming to the protectionist policies. And that's why things are not changing. Especially in developing countries, situation become worse. Especially after pandemic, COVID-19. Now, this is I had given about globalization. Now I'm coming to the second aspect, development. And then I will correlate globalization with development. Development is the necessity. And development has two phases. One is economic development, other is social development. And the real fruits of development cannot be reaped out if you are achieve economic development and you are lagging behind in social development, because they are the two faces of the same coin and they have to go in hand in hand. Especially in developing countries, they are economically developed, but they are socially backward. There is inequalities inter-region, within and intra-region. Inequalities are there. So you have to make it economic development, you have to go for social development. Economic development, that you have to increase the GDP, per capita income of the people, to make them economically well off, which globalization has done, no doubt. Through globalization, economies are coming in billions, and now they are trying to become a trillion economies, $1 trillion economies. They have a task, they have a target. So economic development is necessary, no doubt, but simultaneously there should be more development in social terms also. And after the COVID-19, this becomes the worst area for global economics. You can take this on. Just to become economically well off does not serve the purpose. You must be well off both economically and socially. And in socially, two things are very important. Education and poverty, healthcare, and these are the worst areas in developing countries. Even in developed countries, these are the biggest problems now. United States, even in China and other countries. Education. How to cope this, how to bring more and more improvement in the education system so that it will be able to create the needs of the economy. Because every country needs managers, every country needs technocrats, every country needs doctors, everybody needs accountants. So who will produce this? It is the education sector. You have to make the education most effective and efficient manner so that it caters to the needs of the country. Traditional of managers is come to an end. Now there is more important role has been assigned to the managers. And not managers only business, managers of the country also. Those who are running the government, they are the managers, and they have to make best use of resources because resources are scarce. And you have to play the economies of scale, how to make best use of resources to optimize the output. And that is the most difficult thing, and this is the most difficult aspect with the country's managers. You have to make, but you have to make the efforts. You have to do or die. And you have to make the education more competitive. With keeping in mind the cost factor. In developing countries, there is a hue and cry that professors who are from developed countries, they are more paid than the professors who are from developing countries. there is a double face of the package. Now the question is why? People say it is a discrimination. No, it is not a discrimination. It is my own personal experience. That the professors from developed countries are more knowledgeable than the professors which are coming from developing countries, because of the availability of neither the access of information nor the access to the latest data. In developing countries, people say that lecturing is not the basic aspect, basic duty of a teacher. What is the basic duty of the teacher? Is to imbibe knowledge. And that knowledge where the students have no access to it. So imbibing knowledge, inculcate knowledge, then you can produce. But what are the universities? Universities are the producer of managers, country managers, business managers. So that's why this is one of the, and especially in developing countries, scenario is not good, because there is a cut in the outlay for education. And instead of increasing the outlay, they are reducing the outlay. And that's why now they say private and public partnership. And that's why developing countries are allowing the university from the developed countries. They cannot bring the improvement. They will become more disparities in education. So this is one of the areas which affect development. Second is poverty. Eradication of poverty, biggest problem. And especially after COVID-19, billion people has gone below the poverty line. Hunger. Hunger, you just see the hunger index are there, that will give a different picture. So poverty alleviation is the biggest task for the global world, which is affecting the process of development. More and more allocation must be how to eradicate the poverty, how to bring the people above the poverty line, how to making the purchasing power, because there is a relationship between the purchasing power and the level of consumption. You have more purchasing power, you have more money, you have a more consumption. And consumption accelerates the production. So that's why you always keep in mind, that is the second important aspect is, and then I will come the last to the BRIC countries, a case study. I will give you some facts about the BRICS countries in the last. So this is another important issue. And third is healthcare. Even developed countries like United States, the problem is there. Because the common man has no access to healthcare. And when a man is not healthy, how he can give the best to the organization? No. You cannot give the best to the organization. So that's why You have make more and more accessible healthcare. Common man must have more and more access to the healthcare. So these are the three important aspects of social development. Socialization of pupil. Because by birth, man is a social animal. This is the definition of a man. Man is a social animal. That makes a difference between the animal and the man. So there should be an access to education, to be access to food, and there is access to healthcare. These are the three important biggest issues which have changed the scenario of the developing countries and developed countries. So only economic development will not serve the purpose for the global world. And that's why social development is as important as economic development. But the thing is, which comes first? Economic. When you are economically well off, then you think for social development. If you are not economically well off, you cannot think for social. You cannot get access to the social development. This is the reason in developing countries. So that is why you always keep in mind that this is one of the most important things, that how globalization can promote development, both economic development as well as social development. Then another aspect is connecting people and nations. This is one of the another important area of globalization. Connecting people with nations. That is free movement of human being. That promotes intercultural values. People learn each other culture. Because learning culture is also important for development. And that is the very important aspect which you must take into account. So this is the brief account of development. Now I'm coming to the third aspect, that's the BRICS countries. Because BRICS countries are creating waves in the global world now. BRIC bloc has a place in global world. Because 24% of the GDP is being accounted by the BRICS countries. 29% of the agri land is constituted by the BRICS countries. 16% of the global trade is coming from BRICS countries. So it is a very important block. And today now you can testify this particular that now many countries are coming to become associate members. They want to become the associate member of BRICS countries. Recently, I just read Saudi Arabia is intended to join the BRICS countries. Why the people are being attracted towards BRICS countries? This is one of the most important. And when you go to the history of the BRICS countries, the idea was coined in 2001 by O'Neill. And now more than 2 decades have passed. And I still remember when I was in Kiel, I read an article in a German magazine. I forget the name. And there was an article on BRICS. And it was written in the gist of it is that BRICS is a organization or block of unequals and it will not sustain. But result is otherwise. BRICS, 2 decades have had, now BRICS has become a force, economic force. And that is very important. But the BRICS country is also facing the crisis. It has not worked according to its potential. It has not worked. There is a lot of potential for development in BRICS countries. And you see that BRICS countries, the biggest challenge of the BRICS countries, which are also changing the scenario, is poverty. South Africa is the worst, and there is a survey in South Africa that out of 5%, 1 is below poverty line, to just say. More than 50% of the population is below poverty line. In India, this is the case. China is the only country which has done a tremendous efforts in reducing the poverty, no doubt. Their poverty has gone down considerably. Russia has a poverty now. More than 20% of the total population of Russia is below poverty line. So this basically, poverty is the biggest problem. How to remove, how to minimize poverty. This is one of the biggest stigma on the face of the global economy in case of development. Development is being hindered. You just see. And that's why you just keep in mind that the poverty has to be reduced. Every country has to make out efforts. And there should be 3-pronged approach. Global institutions, regional institutions, and national institutions, until they will not come together, problem of poverty will not be reduced at the global level. The countries should promote development, especially in rural areas. Because the majority of the population in South Africa, India, and other countries are living in rural areas. And in case of India, you just imagine India is the rural India is the real India. Urban India is not the real India. Where more than 60% of the total population is living. And so unless until there is an improvement in the quality and the purchasing power of the rural India, country will not develop. By developing the cities, country will not develop. So I'm just winding up. And just last, I'm just put a quotation for which is very important. Coming together is the beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is success. Thank you very much.